Hello and welcome to the 13th edition of the Clarke Park Show. It's another glorious, crisp, sunny winter's day in January. And before I continue with my talk, I just want to show you, while I'm here in the background, I have mentioned before, you get the deer roaming freely in the park here, and whenever I've met with them I haven't had the camera recording. But you see behind me there, you have so many, I say hundreds of baby deer, young deer grazing in the grass behind me there, and it really is a lovely sight when I see that. Okay, talk to you again soon. So one thing I mention is, you may wonder, with this being the 13th video now in just over 2 weeks, how I find the time or make the time to come out for these walks during the short winter daytimes. Although what's lovely now is I'm noticing the days are beginning to get a little bit longer, and that's a great sign of we're heading in the right direction towards the spring. But anyway, what I would say to you is, maybe there are those of you who watch this or may watch this in the future who work for an employer and you're in a desk job and you're tied to the office during those hours of maybe 9 till 5 or an extension of that Monday to Friday. And perhaps for you, for your exercise, you do it in a different way. Maybe you go to the gym in the evening, or ideally when you go by public transport you do some walking. You have a bit of a walk to the station, you walk up and down the stairs whenever you can, and you have a bit of a walk coming back at the end of the day. And if you don't do that, it's really good for you to find a way of extending your walk each way at the beginning and at the end of the day. And then if you're like me and you have that luxury, that opportunity of flexibility, it's great to make that time to do the walks during the daylight. Now, I should tell you, before I got into this, I used to stay at home, working from home, all day intensively, right the way through into the evening, late at night, and I'd never leave the door. In fact, there'd be days and days where I wouldn't leave the outside door. But then I really thought about it, and it was in my mind that this can't be good, it can't be healthy. And then when I got the Fitbit, that was really my impetus to say, okay, let's change my lifestyle, my daily routine, and make sure I get these walks. And yes, as I said, there's different forms of exercising, but I enjoy this way. I actually heard it being discussed on the radio this morning about these various forms of walking, and somebody was saying walking really is a healthy and enjoyable way of exercise. And what I do, like I did last night, is I'll go back home, I will carry on working, and more often than not I will work through the evening until late at night. That's what I did last night, and we'll do again this evening. And I had the TV on for a couple of hours, maybe half watching it, half not, then switched off and total focus. Another point I mention is, you'll hear me refer quite often to things I've seen in TV programs, and there are people who take the view that TV is a big no-no, it's a waste of time, it's just purely passive consuming content. And especially if you go to a lot of these personal or professional development courses, they really do decry TV. I know there's one very well-known guru, Brian Tracy, who does really talk quite a lot about this, and absolutely says no, TV is of no value at all. Now, I disagree with that, because as you've heard me say before, life, as so often, is about balance. I don't think you have to do things a total exclusion of something else or eradicate something completely. And for me, TV can and does have a value in the right measure, because if you take the foundation, say, of the BBC, which is big in the news at the moment because of the resignation, or about to resign, Director General Tony Hall resigning in the summer. That led to a big debate about, well, there has been a debate about the BBC and the licensing fee. And their mantra, or their foundation, I should say, is to inform, educate and entertain. And I really believe in those values. I think there's a lot in there, and I like to be informed, I like to be educated, but I also like to be entertained as well. And if you watch a comedy and it makes you laugh, that is healthy. If you watch a documentary and you're being informed or educated, that's really good for, I think that's also useful. It's good for the soul as well. And education doesn't just have to come from reading books, which I do, reading articles, which I do, or going to professional personal development events and courses, which I also do. So when you hear me refer to TV programs, I just wanted to get that point in as well. I'm going to refer to one that I paid attention to last night, but not so much the others. And it comes to another core theme that I have, which is part of the bullet points I was saying to you yesterday that I'm going to cover, which will be part of my presentation. And it is about your core beliefs, your values, your principles, and what is it that drives you every day. And I know a lot of people talk about this, but for me, my principles and values are, well, I think you've heard quite a number of them in previous videos and a little bit from just now, but yes, it is about balance. It's about getting the balance right in life, about everything that we do, and mixing it up. But also, I feel it's about fairness, equality. I absolutely believes in those, and justice. And really, when we talk about justice, the scales of justice. And that leads me to what I read about yesterday and watched, which was about this particular woman who is the daughter of an ex-president of Angola. Her name is Isabel dos Santos, and she is the wealthiest woman in Africa, estimated to be worth about £2 billion. And the scrutiny really there was on how she has acquired that wealth. And the documentary and the article in The Guardian that I read, it was really forensic in looking into everything, and you could say highly dubious at best. But what most commentators were saying, and from the evidence they saw, it was their definition of corruption, and corruption through favouritism. But also with this lady, she absolutely manipulated everything to the max to accumulate as much wealth as she possibly could. Really, you'd say there's evidence of cheating the system, and certainly having a wholly disregard for the people in poverty in Angola. And they showed an example of where she acquired this land, valuable land asset, and in a really quite an underhand way. And what it involved was the forcible removal of a number of people that were living in that area, and they forcibly removed them. Yes, they were living in poverty there, but to much worse conditions, what they showed, and it was really poverty and squalor. And so these people and this lady had no regard at all for these people, and yet, and they were saying it could have purchased the wealth that she's acquired through dubious or corrupt means, could fund so many schools, so many health centres. It could do so much for the people of Angola. Many people. We're talking about maybe tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people. And yet she has this extremely lavish lifestyle. So many grand properties in many locations. One looked very grand in the best area of London, but all around the world. And there are many other examples of her lavishness and with jewellery. And that was another area, by the way, that she had her finger in the pie, was diamonds. And for Angola, that's another incredible source of wealth. And Angola as a country, as a land, they have so many rich resources, and it's astonishing to see so much poverty and squalor with the people. And so this is what I also mean by fairness and equality, and I mean also equality of opportunity, which means everyone has that chance regardless of their background, their colour, their origin, their religion. If you have the ability, if you have that attitude and that mindset to really grow in your life and also to accumulate wealth, then absolutely that has to be a good thing and the right thing. And by the way, wealth is not a dirty word. It doesn't have to be. The lady I've just referred to does give it a bad name, because that's because of how she acquires it and how she chooses to spend or use that wealth. But it can be used for great things. So a lot of people want to do great things for society, for the world, but it is a case of the more wealth that you acquire, the more good that you can do in the world. So it's not money or wealth itself that is bad, it's how people acquire it and what they choose to do with it that can be good, it can be bad, and it can be used for good. You have examples of Bill Gates with his Bill Gates Foundation, Mark Zuckerberg, and I know he can be a controversial figure, but he has his own foundation as well. Warren Buffett, another hugely wealthy man, through his astute investments, stocks and shares and trading investments, but he is also one of the world's biggest philanthropists as well. So this is what I mean about having core principles and values and what we choose to do with that. And equality doesn't mean communism, where we all have to be exactly equal, wear the same clothes, live in exactly the same identical house, live an identical lifestyle. No, it doesn't mean that. It means equality of opportunity, and to be really successful in life, to get to a better lifestyle, to live in a better house, to give your family better choices and chances in life, all of those, but also to give back to others less fortunate. And another point I touch upon in this country about equality of opportunity, where yes, we have some issues with women. There's still a long way to go for them to truly catch up, and with those that are known as BAME, Black, Asian, Minority, Ethnic. And while I feel there's been great progress there, there are still some inequalities, and there is still some way to go there. And I think we can do so much in any of those areas. But final point, yes, that's what I wanted to talk about entrepreneurialism, because there's a massive growth in what's known as co-working spaces now. There are a number of companies who do this, and they're everywhere you go. And when you're in central London, there's many of them, and I walk past them, and I see there are just so many entrepreneurs, solo entrepreneurs, and they're all there. They like to, I suppose, socialise, they like to share ideas with each other, and they like to have that office space rather than just working from home. But I think this is a great growth area. And my other thought for the day here is we do have inequality in this country, which I know the new government is very aware of from the last general election, about the divide between the north and south, and especially with London. There's a feeling that London has benefited from so much of the wealth, but many other areas of England really haven't, and that's why there's been such a big shift here with the political landscape and with Brexit, and they're looking at, well, how do we shift some of the resources, the jobs, the headquarters to other parts of England where they can share in that. And I'd say that's also that is definitely a good thing. But one other thing I would suggest here is co-working spaces. Let's open up more of them in other regions of the country, but also let's put a message out there to people who have come from traditional manufacturing jobs of the past, maybe from the areas of the car industry, for example, where they're moving to other countries now, but anything that's involved production, where those skills they feel are no longer needed anymore, and they're going to the job centre thinking, well, what kind of job that I can do? Maybe it's something very low level, minimum wage at best. Maybe it's a cleaning job, for example, or driving a taxi. But I also think that they could also start up a business on low cost, low office rental space. They only pay for the desk that they use, and I see that as another mission as well, to go up there and inspire and motivate more people to starting up their own business and creating their own wealth, rather than be relied on a job and an employer to pay them minimum wage or little more than minimum wage. So they're my thoughts for the day. You see, I'm back to this area again of the beautiful ponds in the background. I'd also say, when I ended the recording yesterday, up ahead of me, another thought, is very difficult to stay on the concrete path or the hard pathways as I'm actually walking on now, because up ahead of me, as I discovered yesterday, there's an area that can't be avoided. It's boggy, soggy, marshy, and that wasn't so pleasant to walk through before I came to the hard path the other side. So I will try something a little bit different here up ahead of me to see whether it is possible to do a circuit around the path and avoid any soggy, boggy, marshy areas, and I'll let you know how I get on tomorrow. So thank you for watching, have a great day, and toodaloo. Well, I had the camera on pause, so there is a postscript. I know this is a much longer video today, but hey ho, make hay while the sun shines, as they say, because this may be the last day like this for a while to come. So I took a small diversion and managed to avoid some of the worst of the soggy, boggy, marshy area, but couldn't avoid it completely. So I don't know, maybe there's a moral of the story somewhere in there. But anyway, what I wanted to also add here on my theme about principles and core values, there was something else going through my head, because kindness, I think, is a big thing there. I think we should always try as hard as possible to be kind to other people. Sometimes emotions can get the better of us and we forget, but I think in our mindset we should really keep it inside to really try hard to be kind as much as we possibly can. And another key thing is forgiveness. Even when you feel people have done wrong by you or upset you, I feel we all need definitely the power of forgiveness, because to hold a grudge, to become bitter, to let it fester inside, I believe it does probably more harm and damage to ourselves internally than it ever does to the other person you feel bad about externally. So keep that in mind. I also believe in that some other key sayings that you hear in life, but I really do believe in them. Do unto others as you would have done unto yourself. What goes around comes around. Absolutely. I do absolutely believe in that, and that I feel is constantly in my subconscious. I also do believe in karma, and good karma and bad karma. And something more recent, I would say perhaps in the last maybe 6 years perhaps, but not before then, I have come to believe more and more in the power of the universe, and that is part of karma. But I believe, yes, well, it's also linked with the law of attraction. And I think what you do, where you go, what you give out, there's a certain magnetic attraction there. But where you are, who you're meeting, what you're giving out is what you feel is coming back to you as well. And also with the actions that you take and the way that you are with people. So, yes, I felt that was a really good core principle and value to add there. And I wonder where you are in your values and your core principles, and how much of what I've said to you you can relate to as well. Now, I may pause this and come back again, because before I finish, I'm coming up to the top of a hill where we will have a fantastic view of London. So here I'm in the park, and it feels like, you see the background here, you see there's no buildings, nothing built up, you hear the tweeting of the birds, and it feels like total wilderness right now. Maybe in the distance I hear the sound of an aeroplane, but some way away. But when I come to the top of the hill here, I do want to show you from that point, you do get a fantastic view of the centre of London and the city of London. So I'll pause it for now and show you again that in maybe just 1 minute coming up. So now I'm only 2 minutes from where I paused last time in what seemed like total wilderness of the park, but it's a little bit hazy in the background, but I hope you can see that in the background. And I'll just give you a panoramic view. I don't know if you can see it as well as what I can see it, but this is where, at the top of the hill, in the distance, and on a less hazy day, you do get a fantastic view of the centre and the city of London in the background. And that's another view that I really enjoy, but I'll probably have to show you again on a less hazy day. So that's it for now. Take care. Toodaloo.